Hi students, welcome to A&P Science and Pharma. Today we are going to discuss about the basics of pharmacognosy, basic definitions in pharmacognosy. Starting from a drug. What is a drug? A drug is a chemical compound that is used for four purposes. Number one, a drug is used to treat diseases. A drug is used to prevent diseases. A drug is used to diagnose a disease, and the drug is used as adjuvant in pharmaceutical preparations like tablets, capsules, whatever, syrups, etc. So basically the definition of drug goes this way. A drug is a chemical compound that is used to treat disease, prevent a disease, diagnose a disease, and used as adjuvant in pharmaceutical preparations. Understood? Now, having said about the drug, apart from this lab synthesized drugs, there are drugs that are derived from natural sources like plants, animals, etc. Those drugs are called as crude drugs. C-R-U-D-E, crude drugs. These crude drugs are the basic of pharmacognosy. Entire pharmacognosy depends on crude drug. Now, how a crude drug is defined? A crude drug is defined by, again, three properties. In textbooks you will have n number of definitions. The crude drug is from natural origin, blah blah blah. After consolidating all those definitions, a crude drug means these three. It should satisfy three principles. Number one, a crude drug is a drug derived from natural origin. Natural origin in the sense it should not be synthesized in the lab. It should be derived from plants, animals, and other sources are there. There are sources of crude drugs which we will discuss later. So a crude drug is a drug that is derived from natural origin, number one. And number two, it is in unprocessed format. It should not be processed, or it should not be heavily processed. It should be unprocessed or minimally processed. What is the processed and minimally processed? I'll tell you in what is this unprocessed or processed? I'll tell you in a while. Now, the third one is it should be ready to use. It should be ready to use. Number one, a crude drug is a drug derived from natural sources. It should be unprocessed or minimally processed, and it should be ready to use. What is the use of a crude drug? While coming to the definition of crude drug, first point what I told, a crude drug is a drug derived from natural source. Correct? And what is the use of a drug? Again, treatment of a disease, prevention of a disease, diagnosis of a disease, and used as adjuvant in pharmaceutical preparation. Crude drug also serves the same purpose as a drug, but the only difference is normal drug is synthesized in laboratory or in an industry, but a crude drug is not synthesized. It is derived from natural sources. Understood? Now, what are these natural sources? There are like 5 kinds of natural sources where the crude drug is derived from. Number one, plants. A crude drug is derived from a plant. It can be any plant. For example, we can take neem plant. Neem plant, you imagine a neem plant, you are plucking out a leaf, you are eating that leaf. What it does in your body? It will kill some bacteria and virus that are existing in your digestive tract. Correct? Correct? It is showing therapeutic purpose. Correct? So neem leaf as such you are eating, it is showing therapeutic activity in your body. Or otherwise, you are plucking out all the neem leaves, you are making a paste out of it, and you are eating that paste. Does the activity differ? No, it is also showing the same therapeutic activity. It can be said that neem paste can improve the therapeutic activity. Why? I'll tell you later. And otherwise, you are preparing a juice out of neem leaf. You are drinking that juice. Imagine that you are plucking all the leaf, First case, you are eating that leaf. I call it as crude drug. Second case, I am making the paste out of that neem leaf. That is also a crude drug. Third case, I am making juice out of that neem leaf. That is also a crude drug. Fourth case, I am drying that neem leaf and making powder out of that, and I am eating that powder as taking that powder as a medicine. That also shows therapeutic activity, and that is also called as a crude drug. And you can ask me, sir, in a dried neem leaf powder, there is little bit of processing. That is what I told. It can be, a crude drug can be in unprocessed form or minimally processed form. That minimal process in the sense drying, pressing, etc. Whatever the basic collection techniques that we use in pharmacognosy, that is a minimal processing. Minimal processing does not cover lab synthesis or any alteration in the structure or any kind of formulating of that crude drug. That does not come under minimal processing. Basic drying, basic collection, basic packing, only that will be called as minimal processing. So all the minimally processed natural drugs are called as crude drugs. Now plant sources, I can give you neem as an example, aloe vera, tulsi, whatever, turmeric, ginger, ashwagandha, etc. and etc. Whatever drugs you are deriving from the plants, those are plant sources of crude drugs. And animal sources of crude drugs, basically you will have sheep. You will use dressings, no? Do you know dressings? The dressings are made up of cotton, that is plant source. But other kinds of dressings like crepe bandages, compression stockings, you have seen the saline, when they put saline they will give red color crepe bandage. Those kind of bandages are made up of wool. Wool is derived from sheep. Okay, so wool is called as crude drug. There also minimal processing is there. You cannot as it is get a sheep and put it on your hand. You can't do that. So you will scrape out those hair and you will minimally clean it and use it as a bandage. So wool is called as a crude drug, not bandage. You understand the difference? Bandage is a formulation. Wool is a crude drug. So crude drugs are used in preparation of pharmaceutical formulations. You understood the difference? Now, if you ask me any other example, honey, you will get honey from honeybees. That is also a natural drug. Correct? So these are animal sources of crude drugs. Other sources like marine. So crude drugs derived from marine sources like fish, shark, fish oil, shark liver oil, cod liver oil. Those are rich in vitamin A and vitamin D, omega-3 fatty acids. So oils, those are extracted from those fish and sharks. Those are from marine. Those are called as marine sources of crude drugs. Number 4, microorganisms like bacteria and fungi. From fungi, especially, you will get antibiotics. Correct? So those are microorganism based crude drugs. Basic antibiotics that are derived from directly the fungi, those are crude. After that, you are altering, you are adding a chlorine, you are adding a methane, or you are adding carboxylic acid to it to enhance the property of antibiotic. Those are not crude drugs. Directly, whatever antibiotic you are getting from the microorganism, that is only a crude drug. Source will be microorganism. And the fifth source of crude drugs is earth. That means minerals. Examples like kaolin, bentonite, calamine. You have seen lactocalamine lotion that we put for foundation or something like that. It will be in our skin color. So that is derived from directly earth. That is a crude drug. So we have 5 sources of crude drugs. 1, plant sources, animal sources, microorganism sources, marine sources, and mineral sources. So 5 basic sources of crude drugs. Now, these crude drugs are classified basically into 2 categories. Number 1, organized drugs, and number 2, unorganized drugs. Very important, organized drugs and unorganized drugs. Okay, these are also crude drugs only. But what is the basic difference between organized drugs and unorganized drugs? Textbook definition goes like this. Organized drugs are those which contain definitive cellular structure. Organized crude drugs will have definitive cellular structure. Unorganized crude drugs does not contain any cellular structure. As I told you earlier, crude drugs are derived from natural sources. Let us assume natural sources as plants. We have 5 natural sources I told you. For this scenario, we will assume as a plant. See, when crude drugs are derived from plants, what are plants made up of? Obviously plant cells, correct? When crude drugs are derived from plants, if that crude drug contains plant cells, then it is called as organized crude drug. For example, neem leaf. As I told you, neem leaf is directly you are going and picking neem leaf. What does neem leaf contain? Plant cells, obviously, correct? Palisade, parenchyma, spongy, parenchyma, epidermis, all those cells are there. So this crude drug, meaning the neem leaf when considered as a crude drug, this will have definitive cellular structure. Even though after drying also, even though after powdering also, it will have definitive cellular structure. Correct? Not exactly intact cellular structure, without integrity also, it might have some cellular structure. You can find, if you place neem leaf powder under a microscope, you can find the cellular structures like xylem vessels, phloem vessels, parenchyma, all those things you can find. The stomata also you can find. So these are definitive cellular structures. When a crude drug have this kind of definitive cellular structures, it is called as organized crude drug. Organized crude drug. And what is unorganized? It does not have any cellular structure. Why? Because these unorganized crude drugs are exudates. Exudates out of the plant. That means these are secreted by the plant. These are not cells. These are not plants or plant parts as a whole, but these are secretions by the plant. Just imagine, you have seen rubber plantations. When you put a slit in the bark of a rubber plantation, the rubber will ooze out of it. Correct? White color liquid latex, rubber latex, that will ooze. That rubber latex does not have cellular structure. It is just a liquid. Correct? It does not have any cells. It will have only molecules. Latex molecules it will have. It does not have cells. You can claim, sir, it will have bark also, rubber bark also, rubber leaf also, things like that. That does not be considered as a crude drug, because those bark and those leaves you are not using as a latex. Correct? You are using only the exudate as a latex. So whatever has a therapeutic purpose, whatever you are using as a crude drug, if it has cells, it is organized. If it does not have cells, it is unorganized. Correct? Now we will take up another classic example to define this, to differentiate this crude drug with organized crude drug with unorganized crude drug. Let us go with the groundnut. Groundnut, everybody know groundnut. Correct? Groundnut seed, that is a crude drug. Groundnut seed as such, it is crude drug. It is rich in proteins, rich in fats, arachidonic acid. Correct? It is a crude drug. When it is partially processed, that means when the groundnut is dried and pressed, cold pressed or hot pressed, whatever, it will exudate some oil, groundnut oil. So groundnut as such is organized crude drug. Groundnut oil, does it contain any cells? No. It might have some cells from the groundnut seed, but those cells we are not, that does not have a therapeutic purpose. What have a therapeutic purpose is groundnut oil. So groundnut oil as a crude drug is unorganized crude drug. Groundnut as a seed, it is organized crude drug. You understood the difference now clearly, and you can go on giving examples, n number of examples for organized and unorganized. Whatever you see outside plants, all the plants which are used for therapy, all those plants are categorized under organized crude drugs. Under unorganized crude drug, resins, gums, tannins, and this latex, all oils, all those things which does not have cellular structure are called as unorganized crude drugs. In pharmacognosy, what does this pharmacognosy mean? Basically, study of drugs is called pharmacy. Study of crude drugs is called pharmacognosy. Correct? That is the basic difference. Study of drugs. Study of drugs in the sense the availability of the drug, the synthesis of the drug, the analysis of the drug, the therapeutic purpose of the drug, all the physical and chemical properties of the drug, all those things, the study of all those things is called pharmacy. And study of the crude drug is called pharmacognosy. What is the properties that you are studying about the crude drug? Taking from synonym of the crude drug, biological source of the crude drug, what family of the crude drug belongs to, where it is grown, the geographical source, what are all the macroscopy, how to identify the crude drug, what is the color, size, taste, texture, odor of that crude drug, microscopical properties of the crude drug, what are all the cells, what kind of cells are there inside the microscopy of the crude drug. When you put the crude drug under microscope, what kind of cells you can observe, that features the identification tests of that particular crude drug, which differentiates from other kinds of crude drug. See, ginger root and turmeric root, when dried, it looks the same. How do you differentiate? Those things and all will come under this identification test of the crude drug, the uses of the crude drug. In some crude drugs, we also deal with the dose of the crude drug, the formulations that you have already prepared, and for potent crude drugs, we also study about the allied species, adulterants, etc. What are allied species means? See, if one crude drug is not available, you can use other crude drug for the same purpose, which is look-alike drug. Okay, that is allied species. And similarly, adulterants are those which look alike but does not have, or which have low activity compared to the crude drug, which business people deliberately mix in the crude drug. Why? To get profits. That is, what are all the adulterants that are, all these things are called, combinedly called as monograph. You study the monograph of crude drug, that is called as pharmacognosy. Pharmacognosy. Basically, pharmacognosy is derived from Greek word, two Greek words. One is pharmakon and gignosy. Pharmakon and gignosy, combinedly called as pharmacognosy. Pharmakon and gignosy. Pharmakon means drug, basically crude drug. That is what it is, crude drug. Gignosy means to know. Pharmakon means the drug, crude drug. Gignosy means to know. To know about any drug is called as pharmacognosy. These drugs are from natural origin, as I told you earlier. So you have, when you are studying all the things, all the details about the crude drug is called as pharmacognosy. Okay, this pharmacognosy was first introduced by C.A. Sadler. C.A. Sadler. He was submitting his doctoral thesis in 1815. He is a Greek scientist. He was submitting his doctoral thesis. He named his doctoral thesis as Analecta Pharmacognostica. Analecta Pharmacognostica. That is when the first usage of pharmacognosy came into existence.